Women Talk Radio with Sandra Beck and Linda Kreter celebrate the thoughts and opinions of magnetic, spirited, and influential women. Each week, bold, brilliant women spark vigorous conversations on the complexities of life, love, and happiness. Now here are your hosts, Sandra Beck and Linda Kreter.
Hey ladies, this is Sandra Beck and I'm here with Linda Kreter and this is Dynamic Women Talk Radio and we've got a house full. We are going to have so much. This is like a radio party. This isn't a radio show. We've got Alex. All right, you got to just say it because I butcher your name every time. It's how do you pronounce it? Okoroji. Okoroji. Oh, well, we get it right. And then we have Angela Breidenbach from Montana, USA. Alex is coming from us from Lagos, Nigeria. Frankie Picasso, Toronto, Ontario. Cathy Kravfe from East Texas. ShaRon Jamison from outside Atlanta, Georgia. We've got Cie Cie from Phuket, Thailand, and Amanda from Denver, Colorado. So we've got a house full today, and we're talking about humbling moments. And there's two things that happen to us as women, especially powerful, dynamic women, when we reach high to get our dreams accomplished. We also experience great falls, and it's almost like a roller coaster. I think many of us have been on this roller coaster of life because we haven't chosen stable, predictable experiences in our lives. We've chosen to reach for our absolute best, but that also comes with humbling moments that drop us down to the very depths of our soul. I'm going to go to Cathy Kravfe, East Texas first.
Well, at our house, Sandra, and thank you, by the way, for inviting me. I love these shows, and I really love all the great women that are on the show today. It's such a privilege to be among you great, amazing people. So, but what we say at our house is we choose humility or humiliation. Because even when we fail, sometimes it can be humiliating to fail, but on the other hand, if you've prefaced your attempt at greatness with a certain kind of humility and awareness and team spirit, then when you fail, it's something you do together. It becomes just a funny story you tell later, and you encourage other people with the story. But when you're prideful about success and you fail, then it's really humiliating. So that's what we say. We choose humility or humiliation.
We have a fantastic new sponsor to share with you today, and we welcome FabFitFun. FabFitFun is a seasonal subscription box with full-size beauty, fitness, fashion, and lifestyle products. Imagine opening your own FabFitFun box each season with brands like Michael Stars, Trina Turk, Moroccan Oil, Dr. Brandt, Juice Beauty, Zoya, Beaker, and Chris Nations. Celebrity fans include Martina McBride, Ashley Tisdale, Bethany Frankel, Kyle Richards, and so many more. Each box retails for $49.99, but always has a value over $200. The fall box will be released in September, and they sell out fast. Don't miss out. Check out www.fabfitfun.com and use the code DYNAMIC to save $10 off your first box, making it only $39.99. Again, that's fabfitfun.com and use the code DYNAMIC. Every FabFitFun box has a value of over $200, and it's the perfect way to treat yourself with the most amazing products of the season. Become a member today and get your first box for just $39.99 when you use code DYNAMIC at fabfitfun.com. With FabFitFun, you get a box of full-size products 4 times a year. FabFitFun with code DYNAMIC. Order yours today.
I have to unmute. I'm so sorry. Cathy, I love it. Humility over humiliation. That's a really powerful statement and a powerful way of being as a family. Failure is, we talked a little bit about it before with you. Failure is a wonderful teacher. Failure means that I'm close to getting things right. Look at Edison. He failed 1,000 times before he got the light bulb. That is, being a true beautiful failure. But you're going to be a winner. You have to fail. You have to have so many no's before you get a yes. You have to fall down before you walk. And when you're trying new things and taking risks, the failure teaches us. It teaches us wonderful lessons and how close we're getting to what it is that we're really trying to do. So humility an amazing thing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Being humble is something that we should all remember, because we're not born walking. None of us come out running. So be humble, be grateful for the things that we have, and take a little bit of pride in, when you win.
I think sometimes it's really important to realize that our failures makes room for other people to have the courage to try. When people see us so perfect, this is Angie, by the way, they often tell us that they don't think they can do it because they can't meet that standard. And early on in our marriage, as my husband and I were trying to figure out how to do this big, huge combined family thing, he had really, really high standards for young children because he didn't understand the levels of change that a child needs to go through in order to learn, what they're capable of, and to stretch and to grow. And at one point, he made the funniest statement. Shh, don't tell him I'm telling on him, because this is, almost 20 years ago. But he said, "I'll just have to lower my standards." And I looked at him and I said, "You shouldn't even have them. They're children." and his eyes just went really wide. And it was like this moment of stunning dawning, like, oh, I don't treat them like, big grown-up business people. And it's like, yeah, sure, we have expectations of others. And yes, people have expectations of us. But when we are constantly 100% on our game, 100%, then no one else ever feels like they can measure up and try also. And I do talk about that in my book, Gems of Wisdom, because my most humiliating moment allowed other people to have the opportunity to also become an assistant minister in our church, because they all thought I was always perfect, always saying the perfect note. And I proved them very wrong. And then people suddenly started signing up.
It's so interesting that you say that. I believe when we start talking about humility, I was taught something as a young child, that the blessings are always at the bottom. And because I believe nothing can reach us and teach us like pain. Mm-hmm. And when we are thinking about the bottom, we are strengthened by our struggle always. And we gain power through our pain. And so I think that humility, when we allow ourselves to fail without judgment, that's when we get power. That's when we get clarity. That's when we develop our courage. I believe in my own life that the only way up is the way down. And because you don't learn lessons at the college of convenience, you learn lessons at the university of adversity. And so the only way that we can be good students, the only way that we can be able to let our wounds give us the wisdom is to fail and to fall down and to stumble and always understand that failure is just not a funeral. The failure is something that allows us to be our best selves. So I really believe that humility is something that I wish more of us embrace, more people embrace, because the blessings are always at the bottom. And I think that when we realize that and people really accept that, they will see that they will come out wiser, bolder, bigger, stronger, because you don't learn lessons through success. You learn the best lessons, life-altering lessons in our weaknesses. And so I think humility is important.
Oh, that is so beautiful. And I totally agree with you, ShaRon. This is Amanda Testa, by the way. And you know what this conversation really brings me to think about is that beautiful Theodore Roosevelt quote about the man in the arena. He basically, the credit goes to the man who's marred by dust and sweat and, who at least fails while daring greatly. So his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. And that's, I feel like what kind of this conversation is so about is it's really putting yourself in those moments as a learning experience. And for me, when I was thinking back to some of the most humbling moments in my life, it's really interesting. I think so many have come through parenting. And I'm sure there's many moms out there who could relate. But, when you first bring that little nugget home and you're like, oh, I got this. And then, 5 days of no sleep and it's like 2 a.m. and you're just like in a heap sobbing on the floor. I think that's probably been one of my most humbling moments. But of course, you grow to find this other strength you never knew you had. So I totally agree. It's such a beautiful place to learn and grow from. And then next up, we've got Cie Cie from Thailand.
Right. Thank you. Yes, I believe that to feel humiliated is also to build up your character, to face the humiliation, so you can just say, "Oh, if I have that kind of feeling, then I will have to overcome that to become someone better than the person who has been humiliated." So it's also to build up my character to become a person to be recognized. So feeling humiliated or feeling that humbling moment is to give your character a stronger foundation. So I listen to all of your women, beautiful thing to talk about humiliation, humbling moment, and I agree to all of that. So to become who we are today, I think we have to go through all that to achieve what we can achieve, and that is just a beautiful thing. It's quite a shock to your system, but it's also to give yourself something to reflect about, to think, to get on with that humiliating moment, and to get up and go. So that's how I feel about humiliation or humbling moment.
Well, that was really nice, Cie Cie, saying that humbling moments build your character. This is Alex Okoroji from Nigeria, by the way, and I agree with you. Humbling, when we either experience humiliation moments, they definitely build our character. And I would say this: when I first started the whole naked movement, and I was learning how to peel off, reveal my weaknesses and imperfections and flaws and embrace them. And I remember, a lot of the times people would be, some people would ask me, Alex, why would you share that in public? Why would you tell people about the things that you've experienced? And I used to say that sometimes your mess might be a message for someone, right? And it might be a message. And I do have a personal story, one very humbling moment in my time. In fact, the one time that I would say that really changed my values and changed how I saw life. And it was something that happened when we lost our family house. Our house burnt down. And I came from a very comfortable family. My father was pretty famous. And just to one day see our house burn up in flames, and we lost every single thing, right? And it happened to be the security guard next door whose wife brought her best fabric and gave to my mother. And my mom was crying and saying, "Oh my God, now I'm leaving on charity." And I said, "Mommy, you're not leaving on charity, you're leaving on love." And so a lot of the times when we experience those moments when we think are humbling moments, they teach us, right? They really teach us how to stay, how to value other things besides our success and our ambition and all the other things that we put forth. So, well, I'm looking forward to this.
We're going to come back after this commercial break.
Sorry,
we'll be back. This is Dynamic Women Talk Radio.
We're Dynamic Women Talk Radio, and we'll return after these short messages.
It's the Fitness Minute with fitness expert Annette Hammond.
According to a Gallup poll, 56% of Americans want to lose weight. Most of us know that muscle burns more calories than fat. So when you're trying to lose weight, you want to lose body fat while preserving the muscle you have. Lifting weights while you're losing weight is not an option. It's a requirement. According to a Penn State study, when dieters don't pump iron, 22% of their weight loss comes from losing muscle. So if you lose 20 pounds without lifting weights, almost 5 pounds will be muscle. Upping your protein intake is important, and Columbia University researchers found that protein intake plays a significant role in preserving lean muscle mass during weight loss. Preserve your muscle as you drop the body fat. I'm Annette Hammond. Like us on Facebook at Fitness Minute with Annette Hammond.
Welcome to TogiNet, radio with a cutting edge.
Okay.
Welcome back to Dynamic Talk Radio. We are talking about humbling moments. And this is Linda Kreter in DC. I would love to talk a little bit about the fact that I think age and wisdom and experience takes us from that bold 20 moments of hubris when we think we know everything, or take it back to teenage years when you really thought you knew everything. And then experience in life teaches you that maybe you don't. So I think one of the beautiful things about getting older and wiser is that life humbles you. Having children humbles you. Aging humbles you. Lessons learned. There are big changes that come in each decade. And so I think that moving from hubris to humility comes with our experiences. So where are we going? Who would like to go next?
Cie Cie.
Okay.
Right about the humbling moment when I was a teenager. I think that when is like I got to, then I just say I seem to know don't want to study, and I just very arrogant. And then when I got to my class to do the presentation, I failed miserably because I just was so confident with myself that I thought I could have done it without doing much of a study or doing something. And then when I stood up to the class, and I was just tongue struck without knowing how to present the topic, and that I felt so stupid. That I didn't listen to him, and I was over, and that taught me a lesson that not to be overconfident and just to listen.
I think you stopped, Cie Cie, have you? I'm going to say something about Cie Cie that I know because I had the pleasure of interviewing her. Cie Cie wrote the very first book in English. She's a South Vietnamese survivor, and she wrote the very first book in English about that called Shock Peace. And it's a phenomenal book. And she said to me, I'm not a very good writer, but she's a phenomenal writer. And so she learned this humbling lesson early on, I think. She's a pharmacist in Australia. So she has that in her background. But I'm wondering, are there certain professions that like, surgeons that have to be arrogant? They're not, I've never met one that's humble. Not yet anyway. I mean, as children, little kids are, like you talked about the hubris, Linda, little kids are definitely all about, I'm the best, I'm the biggest, I'm the most wonderful, But, right. And as they grow, yes, the waters of time, smooth those rough edges on us and make us more humble. But I think they have to be a little arrogant in the beginning to get up walking and get up talking and do all the things we need to do in life. And then, society takes us and says, they massage us and go, no, that's not very nice. Don't talk about yourself. Is that right? I don't know. Let's talk about that. Mm-hmm.
Frankie, I love the way you bring this stuff up. This is Cathy. I pulled a quote from John Maxwell that says, have the humility to learn from those around you. And especially in the case of a neurosurgeon, of course he has to have confidence and maybe the word is arrogant. I don't think so. I think you just learn to do what is hard. You know what is true. And so you're able to step into those roles with confidence. And that's a kind of humility when you're willing to take correction from others. But it does produce a kind of beautiful skill level. And so humility is really a beautiful thing in that way. Cie Cie's a great example of that. Mm-hmm. Having learned from her hardship, she has become so confident in her ability to speak.
And also, I think that my humiliation actually also came from when I first arrived at the refugee camp. when I read that I was a refugee. That was the humiliation moment to me as a teenager. Well, at that time when I realized that I was a nobody, a very humbling person who had nothing in my possession, not even the language, not even the country or a citizenship. It's about people. So it's that is the word moment of my life. Lie flat down on the boat surface on the deck, and they just start searching us, and then I actually almost crying and realizing that to search for the freedom that I long.
I think sometimes that Skype is causing a little bit of flutter because we have so many of us chatting. But let's hear from ShaRon.
Hi there.
Okay.
Go ahead, Alex, please.
Oh, no. Go ahead. Well, I was just going to say that there was something that, Cathy, she said about, just our experiences and how, humbling moments. I would say that every time that I make a discovery, it is a humbling moment for me, right? When I make a discovery, when I discover something I thought I knew that I never knew, right? It's always humbling for me, whether it is a positive discovery or a negative discovery. Even sometimes, I experiment with things and I'm like, oh my goodness, I didn't realize that I could add this and come out with this. And for me, it's humbling. But every day, even with that, there are times I experience, for example, even being in the entertainment industry here in Nigeria, there's still places I will walk into and the person didn't know who I was, right? And, the person didn't know you were Alex Okoroji, and the person's like, okay, but just because the person doesn't care about movies or doesn't pay attention to that, you go like, oh my goodness. Sometimes it is humbling. There are those moments where you think you're all that, be it all, and you're special, and there are people who don't even care about the things that you spend your time caring about because they're focused on something else. That is very humbling. But I've learned to look at just the painful experiences that we have and how do we use that to create aha moments for other people. I think that when we get ashamed of those personal experiences, and a lot of times a lot of people they're ashamed to share the challenges that they've been through, something like what Cie Cie has been through, or write about it or talk about it, then they also sort of hold people back from having those moments as well. So I think it's sharing our experiences with other people. Do you hear me? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, you're good.
Sorry, okay, is Alex talking? That was weird. So I think that it's important to share those challenges with people, right? So that they can also learn from just the experiences that we've had. Sorry.
Yes. Hi, Alex. It's ShaRon from Georgia. I agree with you. I think that when we think about humiliation, I think humiliation, and I say it all the time, is always part of elevation. They're like peanut butter and jelly. You can't have one without the other. And I think that the challenge around humiliation is that there's so much judgment that we place on it, or so much judgment that we allow people to place on it, that it starts to paralyze us and it starts to minimize us. And so when we understand that humiliation is just part of the process, I think it will allow us to remove the judgment. And so even when I am learning something and people want to place shame, oh, ShaRon, that, you made some mistakes. Oh, ShaRon, you mispronounced the word. It's never my shame that bothers me. It's the shame that I allow people to bring into my life based on their expectation. And you always find that people who always have something to say are people who never risk anything. So I allow the judgment I make sure that I don't allow their judgment to affect my spirit. And so I realize that humiliation is part of the elevation, but I don't place humiliation with shame. I just think it's part of the process. And the faster I fail, the faster I rise. And I think that when we keep that in mind and destigmatize and de-shame the humiliation, we can run on and see what the end will be. And I think that's important.
I agree, and I think sometimes it's important to realize that that shame is sometimes good, because if we are running amok, sometimes the pressure that society puts on us helps us to understand what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. But I also think that when we experience small failures, that's when we begin to realize we can survive them. And when we survive them, that sense of survival, that's the beginning, the essence, if you drill it down, of courage. So it's, I think it's a big part of the life lessons that we're talking about. Survival becomes something we can latch on to realize that we can survive, that gives us the courage to step forward.
It's beautiful how you talk about survival. This is Amanda, by the way, because I think that is so important. And even how ShaRon was talking about, we have so much shame about when we fail. And our culture does not do much about, building this back up. Mostly it's, people can tend to get stuck in that place of feeling really defeated. And I think one of the things that I've learned too is, just being able to be coachable and being open to learning more things, because I think I work with so many people in relationships, and that's another area where people feel really humbled or like they've failed, or if they ask for help, that's viewed as being failure, when actually it's a beautiful celebration that you want to learn how you can be better, how you can communicate better. I think all these opportunities can be viewed differently. Our society doesn't really support us in that, however. So I love how we are putting this out there that, yes, these humbling moments happen to everyone. It is so normal. Shame happens to everyone. It is so normal, and being vulnerable and sharing these things, I think supports and encourages other people to realize, all right, well, I guess it's not so bad that I just totally got kicked in the butt in that experience, because I can know that I'm not alone in that. And we can all grow from it. So, and I think I've learned from these moments is being coachable, which is something I used to not be open to, like being open to learning something new and being open to take a different perspective, and how that helps me to grow. Because I think one of the last times I felt really ashamed in a experience, it shuts you down for a while, before you're able to look at it as a growing experience.
I love that. This is Linda. Going back to a comment that Frankie made very early on, which is we should all remember humility. I laughed at that internally because I thought, I don't have to remember it. It's innate. I've got it. I have lots of experiences that show it. But I think what we're talking about is lack of judgment, labels, respect for others. Cie Cie, your story is so powerful. And I think by sharing our life humbling moments, I think that we do show others that there is strength to be gained, that there are people that will support you. And these are the people to surround yourself with. These are the strong people who have your back and who are very kind. So I think we are learning a great deal about this. We have to go on another break, but we will be back and we will talk about how life humbles us as we come back in a few minutes. We're Dynamic Women Talk Radio, and we'll return after these short messages.
Neurocritics, or the people who study dreams, tell us that the kind of television you watched as a child can affect your dreams today. For instance, if you had a black and white TV, you might be prone to colorless dreams. I'm pretty sure I dream in color, but my friends say it's a pigment of my imagination. It has been suggested the type of cheese you eat can also impact your dreams. This might be a bit hard to digest, but a study conducted by the British Cheese Board discovered that people who ate cheddar cheese dreamt more about celebrities, while folks who ate blue cheese experienced more bizarre dreams. A bad dream could give you matatulapia, or the bad mood you experience when you get up on the wrong side of the bed. It's I'm Carolyn Davidson, and you can have fun challenging your words you never heard vocabulary with my free app, Too Funny for Words.
It's the Fitness Minute with fitness expert Annette Hammond.
Can swimming really lower blood pressure in older adults? The American Journal of Cardiology reports that a study found that swimming has shown to improve older adults' blood vessel function and curb their blood pressure. Swimming is the second most popular form of exercise for older adults, with walking being number one. As a personal trainer, I always recommend swimming for older adults after they have received approval from their doctor. Swimming and working out in the pool is easy on the joints, has virtually no impact, and the warm water makes aches, stiffness, and pain feel so much better. Now we can add lowering blood pressure to the list of the benefits of swimming. No matter what your age, put on your swimming suit. It's time to dive in. For the Fitness Minute, I'm Annette Hammond. Visit our website at AnnetteHammond.com.
Hey, ladies, this is Sandra Beck, and this is Dynamic Women Talk Radio, and I'm here with Alex Okoroji from Nigeria, Angie Breidenbach from Montana, Frankie Picasso, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, Cathy Kravfe, East Texas, ShaRon Jamison, Atlanta, Georgia, Cie Cie Nguyen, who is in Phuket, Thailand today, and Amanda Testa from Denver, Colorado. The topic for this round table is social media, friend or foe, and how does it affect us when we are experiencing our humbling moments? I know, and I'm just going to say this because I'm me and I'm very open on the air. When I was getting divorced and I would see happy family pictures, it was like, like I had to wear garlic around my neck. They were like vampire photos because they just sucked the life out of me. And when I would see people getting married and happy and I was, getting divorced and unhappy, social media did not make me feel better. In fact, it made me feel worse, or however I interpreted my feelings, whatever. But the fact is, I shut that darn thing off for days at a time because I just felt bad. And right or wrong, that was my response. Linda Kreter.
I really find that social media, first of all, it wasn't in existence at this level, 20 years ago. And the compare and despair, if it's on Facebook, there's two things people think. Oh, everyone's happy and they never have any bad moments. And if it's on Facebook, it must be true. So those things are really those are illogical statements. So I think that in terms of social media, we can allow social media to humble us or for people to bully us or to not be kind, or we can disengage as you did. But I think that this is a relatively new means of communication and comparison, and I think it's very difficult to manage. People do not generally put their humiliating moments out there in terms of Facebook. You only see the happy stuff. But behind the scenes, what is going on if you're close to certain people. And I wonder if this isn't a very harmful, it's not going away. I know that. I already know that. But I find it to be kind of a harmful relationship factor these days, that the false, faux, happy factor does not leave room for those vulnerable moments. It's very seldom where you see somebody putting up a photo where they look bad or they've made a mistake, sometimes, but it's usually amusing if it is. It's not usually vulnerable.
This is Angie, and I do agree with you in a lot of ways like that, but I think that there's things that we need to do to soften the blow of the bullying in social media. And I've made a promise, if you will, to my followers, to my readers, to my friends, to my contacts, whatever you want to call them on whatever form of social media it is. I have made the promise to be family friendly and always good for your heart. And the reason is there's so much out there of angst and of bullying and of negativity. And I mean, I even have a person who is a criminal who changes their identity and posts false reviews of my books in order to try to harm me because I turned them in for being a criminal. And it's very difficult. You cannot constantly be battling somebody who's, I said this to a friend yesterday, and see if this rings true for you all too. When you're trying to be honest, the person who is dishonest actually is very good at their craft and is working very hard to be good at that craft of dishonesty, whether it's criminal behavior or bullying or being a difficult personality. They're very, very good at it. So I think it's very important to have the opportunity to allow yourself, you don't have to be false or fake or anything else, but I think it's a very important thing to not constantly pour out angst and negativity on social media, because it seems like we're just slamming others with that. So to me, it's important to be what I would say valid or authentic, but do it with grace for who the reader or the listener is as well. What do you think, Cie Cie?
Oh, right. For me, social media, I agree with Sandra when she's saying that when she's having a divorce and looking at the social media, happy people, family, and she feeling humiliated or not very happy about it at all. For me, social media sometimes giving me like a fake happiness, like people just going up there and showing how beautiful they are and how happy that they they can be with their family, and it's sometimes for me it seems to be a showing off rather than a true feeling of a person or the true image of that kind of I can't say it, but then at first social media giving me a kind of reaction that yes, I can be out there touching the world and be with other group of people. But the more I look at it now, it seems to me like it's fake. People do not show themselves. They only put it up there, a picture of happiness, of joyfulness, receiving something from others, but never a true self, never a true image of who they actually are, of anything that like, oh, I make a mistake of this, I was the failure of that. It's always something fake to me. It's fake now. So I do not quite get on with social media as I had been previously a couple of years ago, because the more I see it now, it's the more that it seems like a make-believe what I think about social media. And I feel like Sandra said that when I'm unhappy, when I feel like a failure or something like that, I shut out. I look at social media because it seems photos to me.
I think you're right. It's the one thing Trump can talk about that's true. It's fake news. Social media is fake news. And, one of the as a journalism student, one of the things that you learn about is that you can talk about somebody who is in the public figure, the public eye, and you can talk about them good or bad, and there's no repercussion. However, people are taking that now, and there's no rules on social media. I can talk about any of you. I can say whatever I want about you, and there's no repercussion. And I said I had a story. About 2 weeks ago, somebody had tagged me in a excuse me, in a story that they wrote, and they had about 6 other people in conjunction with my name, and they said that I was a liar, that I'm not. I don't. There's no social impact, that I made it all up, that I don't help other people, and I don't do this and I don't do that. Like the complete opposite of what I do. And I chose, like Linda said, I chose not to engage back, because what's the point? Obviously, they had it wrong, right? You all know that.
Absolutely.
And I thought, no, you know what? Like, I don't know why you're doing this, but you must have a reason. Maybe it makes you feel better. And I looked at the other people, and I actually looked up all the other people that they had tagged and saying that they were fake too. And I could tell that they weren't. So somebody had, a grievance against all of us, or they were jealous, or whatever their case for doing it is. I have no idea. But I just know that was fake news. But there are no repercussions. Like, people are now saying things about you. There's no rules on social media. There's no rules that say, oh, I can't say that Cathy Kravfe or Sandra Beck is a big fat liar. I can't say those things. But I'm going to, wrong. We need to develop, just like in journalism, we need to develop some kind of engagement, rules of engagement around social media. So there is no bullying. So you can't just target somebody and say whatever the heck you want about them, true or untrue. That's slander in the journalism world.
Frankie, by the way, this is Alex Okoroji from Lagos, and I'm happy that you mentioned that. You talked about just how social media isn't regulated, right, and how people can now share whatever they want to about people. I would say this: I know this experience firsthand, right, because I'm in the entertainment industry here, and it's so very easy to Google and you're going to find things like, oh, I can act nude. I never said that. Or, you're going to find headlines and things that I never said, but someone is going to write a beautiful caption, a story, or put my name in the headline and say, Alex Okoroji, the actress, said this, but I didn't say that. And how many times am I going to defend? I can't defend myself. I'm not going to go there and say, oh, I did say this, or I didn't say that. Oh. Naked doesn't mean nude. I didn't say nude. I said naked, and they mean different things. But the truth is, the truth is, what I've learned is that you can control your own narrative. I've decided not to focus anymore on just what people have to say, but how I say, what I have to say. And I think that at the end of the day, yes, people have access to social media, and some people are going to use it to bully people and humble people or embarrass people. But I also think that we also have access to that social media, and we can use it to turn things around, which is why I started the Naked Movement in the first place, which is like saying, hey, I'm not ashamed to be vulnerable. And if I did something that I'm not proud of, trust me, you hear it from me first, right? If you don't hear it from me, if I'm not sharing it, then it never happened, right? So that way you take control of the narrative, and you take control of just what people have to say and how you move forward with whatever experience. I mean, my marriage broke up basically in the public light, and my family would lie about my, about my separation for a long time. They would tell everyone, oh, she's still married, her husband is in Ghana, they're doing okay, they're doing fine, and they were lying about it. And I got tired because I stopped going to events because I was trying to hide my face, and I was embarrassed about people talking about it. But I found out that the only way that I could take back my life and be in control of my narrative is actually putting it down in a blog and sharing it with everyone else. So I think that, social media is, has its disadvantage, but I also think it also has its advantage because you can actually use it to take back your power. You can use it to control your narrative. You can use it to turn that mess into a message and use it to, to basically bless someone, which is what I've been trying to do with my story. So.
Alex, I love that. You are so strong in terms of how you take a lemon and turn it into lemonade, to use yet another cliche. I think the thing about social media is that it's often just one dimension. And as dynamic women, we are so much more than a single dimension. And we have to go on our final break, but we are going to continue talking with ShaRon, Alex, Cathy, Frankie, Angela, and Cie Cie. We will be back right after these short messages. You're listening to Dynamic Women Talk Radio. More at dynamicwomentalkradio.com. We'll be right back. We're Dynamic Women Talk Radio, and we'll return after these short messages.
Martha Sanchez, the host of the Mommy to Mogul radio show, empowering women to build a successful business, invites you to join her on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. At the ripe age of 5, she was already interpreting information in documents and instructions on forms for her immigrant parents. Now, through her experience and those of her guests, she provides you with valuable steps to empower you to reach financial independence. Martha A. Sanchez is a registered nurse with a Bachelor in Nursing and Master's of Business administration. She's a business coach, speaker, author, and CEO of Moss International, LLC. Her diverse work experience brings you expertise in areas essential to customer service, social media, and budgeting. The Mommy to Mogul radio show furthers her personal mission of empowering women to help them build successful businesses so they can reach financial independence. Join Martha Sanchez, the host of the Mommy to Mogul radio show, Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Have you ever wondered where the terms used in computer speak originated? The word cookie, that packet of information that travels between a browser and web server, is named after the fortune cookie, a cookie with an embedded message. Rebooting the computer is literally pulling yourself up by your bootstraps. The name Google was originally coined in 1938 by Milton Sirota, nephew of mathematician Edward Kasner, during a discussion of large numbers. Google is the number 1, followed by 100 zeros. The word Yahoo was originally invented by Jonathan Swift and used in his book Gulliver's Travels. It's a derogatory term for a person who is repulsive in appearance. Yahoo founders Jerry Yang and David Filo selected the name because they considered themselves Yahoos. I'm Carolyn Davidson, and you can have fun challenging your words you never heard vocabulary with my free app, Too Funny for Words.
Hey, ladies, this is Sandra Beck, and I'm here with Linda Kreter, and this is Dynamic Women Talk Radio, and we've got Alex, Angie, Frankie, Cathy, ShaRon, Cie Cie, Amanda, and we are talking today about humbling moments. And we talked about how we've all been humbled. We talked about how social media often gives a distorted view, so our humbling moments can be even more crushing if we let them. And today I want, in this segment, to talk about bouncing back. Now, I have a program that I call Bouncing with Style, and it's about starting over, but not from scratch. And since we are doing our therapy today without the copay on Dynamic Women Talk Radio, we're going to share our tips, tricks, and techniques about how we bounce back. I'm going to go to Amanda Testa in Denver, Colorado first.
Beautiful. Yeah, I love that. And I can relate to Alex. You know, I think anytime you put yourself in the public eye, you're just opening that door to people to comment however they want. And sometimes that is humbling to hear. And I find for myself, my favorite way to bounce back from that is to just kind of put my blinders on and really tap into myself. And how I do that, I love to really just close my eyes and breathe into my body and notice like where in my body I'm feeling resistance. So a lot of times for me, when I feel shame or feel really humbled by something, I feel this huge like warm sensation in my chest, a tightness, like a clenching. And I literally just try to surround that area with compassion and love. And when I do that for a few minutes, it really helps it to dissipate. And then I'm able to move forward and say, okay, what are my next steps? Like that was painful, but now I can know that I can tap in, okay, where is that empowered part of me now? And resource, you know, kind of feel into my body where I feel strong, and then use that energy to move forward on the action steps to make myself feel better, or to, you know, schedule in some self-care, or to, you know, okay, I definitely need to make an appointment for this, or, you know, I'm just going to get back to work because I know what I'm doing is very important in the world and I'm helping so many people. So move forward, you know, then you can focus on your action steps.
Okay, we're going to go to Cathy Kravfe, East Texas.
You know, I've been waiting to hear from you, Angela, about that. You mentioned it on programs before, and each time you do, I always take notes. And I'm trying to learn to practice that idea of noticing where I feel the pain when I have an emotional reaction to things. And I'm finding it very, very good help. And so I was hoping that you would even mention your book, because I think people would really benefit from that. And I wanted to get more information about that myself.
Oh, you are so kind. Thank you. My book is called Gems of Wisdom. The Treasure of Experience is the second release. We changed the subtitle on it. And it is a nonfiction book. I tend to write fiction most of the time, but this one was my life ministry book. all of the failures and experiences and shames and difficulties, that I went through. And then I had the opportunity to interview other women, and they shared theirs as well. And so it was an amazing, cathartic experience to write it. And then I had to rewrite it 2 more times so that it was actually consumable by somebody else.
That's really the whole process of writing, isn't it? They should never say I wrote a book. I instead rewrote a book is what has happened.
It's true.
I'm thinking about that whole concept of shame and humiliation and how we process that emotions, which I personally believe God gives us all our emotions, and they have a healthy response. And ShaRon had shared something earlier. The challenge with humiliation is there's so much judgment around it, and the judgment of other people is what paralyzes us. So I was hoping she would speak to that again.
Yes, I think that the judgment is something that we learn and that we inculcate, but it's only based on people who have molded us and taught us and sometimes manipulated us. But I think the biggest skill and the best skill that as women we can develop is the skill of bounce back ability. I think bounce back ability is a skill, it's a superpower, it's an ability, it's a knowing. I don't care how we couch it, but it's something that if we have and we can walk into it, we will never fail in the way of how people define failure. And bounce back ability is a risk, but it has rewards. And something that I always try to tell myself is that I'm a queen, and queens fall down, but they don't stay down. And so if we realize that we are queens and we might fall down, but that we don't stay down, that we can really tap into our own spirit of resilience, because we all have it and we all know it. We all walk in it. But when we fall down, we forget to reach into our reserves, because we all have histories and testimonies of when we have overcome. But something happens when we fall down that we forget that we are these power sources of testimonies and examples and evidence, that we are reservoirs of power that we have to reach into and remember that we are queens, and queens fall down, but they don't stay down. And I think that's when we will be able to walk into our power.
Angela Breidenbach, Montana, USA.
Oh, sorry, I missed that. I was so intrigued by what she was saying that I was just processing it, I think the bounce back factor is really important. And I'm going to give just like a little personal story that had to do with not only a humbling moment, but then how that processed for me was, I've been rejected so many times, in the publishing industry. You may write a wonderful book, your book may need work, it doesn't really matter, but you end up getting rejection. That's the point. And you're rejected a lot. And I was asked by my agent why I didn't cry when I got rejections. And I think it came from being rejected. Sorry. So much.
Wow. You didn't hear a gong on time.
I'm so sorry. It's a grandfather clock. I meant to turn it off prior to the show. In getting rejected or humiliated by your clock. In getting rejected, I think it's really crucial that we realize that it is just one more step to the yes. And sometimes we find it not just humbling, but humiliating, because we've been rejected, because we've gone through something, because we've been shamed. But when we take that and we bounce back with it, and we realize that the next step is going to be a positive step, and we just keep trying until we get the positive step. Sure, I've gone and cried for a moment, but I do it privately. I don't do it when I'm in the moment. I take myself away because it gives me the chance to process without emoting all over somebody else. And I think that for being rejected with sales, it helped me to understand that it is only a process of getting to where you want to go. And if you don't trip, you can't pick yourself up, brush yourself off, and try again. Just like a little one takes its first steps, rejection and shame can actually be those little steps toward the eventual success.
And Angie, I can so relate to that. And especially in the sales arena, rejection is something that you have to be able to process really well and be able to, bounce and get back up. And one of the most important things somebody said to me in that arena was, and it kept me going forever and ever, and it was just that everyone has the right to know. So every time I made a call, every time I had to pick up a phone and I was feeling dejected or I knew I was going to be rejected, I made a game. The game was, okay, 10 no's for every yes. Oh, good, I got another no. Oh, good, I got another no because I'm going to get another yes. But the thought process behind was always, well, you know what? Everyone has the right to know about it. Their choice. They get to choose. They want to accept it or not. I'm just the messenger. Don't shoot the messenger. So I think that that's really important to know where you're coming from. Be honest, and and be able to get back up. There's nothing more important than being able to get back up. I know that. I was in a horrific, motorcycle accident. I spent 6 months in a hospital, and just being able to, and I lost everything. And that's where my unstoppable came from. And you're going to be unstoppable, and you're going to get back, and you're going to you might not be the same, but you'll be new and different, and you'll just get back up. And it was very humbling because I thought I was on this trajectory that nothing was going to stop, and boom, the universe stopped me and said, nope, you're going to try something different now, and you're going to go in a different direction, and you're going to help people in a new and in a different way. And maybe you don't want it, but you have to roll with it.
I agree.
Frankie, I'm so happy that you mentioned, just talking about rejection and just, we've all been there. I've been there, and it's funny, now that I think about it, I don't really think about it all the time, but now I think about it, I'm like, if I didn't have those, those moments where I failed or people had rejected me, I probably wouldn't be where I am right now. I remember when I just had my child, and, it was, again, is an experience I'd like to talk about because it's still, just a few years ago, right? My son is 7 now. But I remember when I taken the break from the industry, from the film industry, and I went and got married and had a child, and that marriage didn't work. And, when I wanted to come back into the industry, it was hard for me to book jobs because I'd put on weight, right? So people would say, oh, you're fat now, Alex. You're not the sex symbol we used to know before you left the industry, right? And that was tough for me, right? It was really tough. And the truth is, had it been that they hadn't rejected me, I wouldn't have exercised all the other skills I have. I wouldn't have figured out I wouldn't have a radio show that is successful. I wouldn't have written books. I wouldn't have been speaking. I wouldn't have been doing a lot of things that I'm doing now just because a few people told me they couldn't put me back on television because I put on weight. Now I'm back to acting. But at the time, it seemed like they weren't doing, it just seemed like it was over, right, for me. But it wasn't over for me. They were just giving me another opportunity to be able to harness all the other skills that I had. So I think for those who are listening now, we should look at rejection and those moments, those humbling moments, as another phase that might open up doors to other things that we can't see right now, right? So for me, I feel like it's so important that every time we get a rejection, we just need to look at how can we use that no, how can we go back to the drawing board? I don't think it's over. No is not no. It's just not now, right? Or not right now. And find opportunities for ourselves. So I'm glad that you mentioned that, Frankie, because it had me thinking about my own career and just my life and just all the times that people had told me no. So it's been amazing having this great conversation with all your amazing women. I know that we have been, well, I know that we've had a great, amazing time on Dynamic Women Talk Radio. It is nice. I'm Alex Okoroji from Lagos, Nigeria in Africa. And I know that we have ShaRon Jamison, Frankie Picasso, there's Sandra, Beck, Angela, oh my God, and Cie Cie. Well, I hope I'm doing a good job of trying to wrap this up. I know Linda is somewhere here.
I'm happy to take it to the last minute. I want to give you one more quote as we end this.
Okay.
On the highest throne in the world, we still sit only on our own bottom. So humble moments, and we will talk with you next week. Thank you for tuning in today to Dynamic Women Talk Radio, and join us each week. You can find more shows on dynamicwomentalkradio.com.